Well, good afternoon. Senator Gary Dahms, Senate District 16, and I hope everybody's got dug out of the snow, and I hope everybody was safe yesterday, and it sounds like in a few more days we're going to be right back at it with the snowstorms. But today I wanted to talk a little bit about Governor Walz's budget. I'm not so sure I would call it a budget. I think I would call it a spending plan. This is one very expensive Minnesota proposition. It's been many a biennium since we've seen such strong increases in one biennium. We're looking at about a 9% growth from the last biennium, about $4 billion. Unfortunately, so much of this money is coming through taxation, and it's going to be on the middle and low income folks that are going to be paying the biggest brunt of this penalty. Just in the automobile part of it, as far as, I should say roads and bridges, not automobiles, the roads and bridges part of it, we're seeing a 20-cent request on gas tax. We're seeing an increase on your automobile tabs. You're going to see an increase in the sales tax on the automobiles purchased. It's going to go from 7.5% or 6.5% to 6.875. Normally, when we put out a budget, we take our current resources, our current income or revenues, and we try to match the spending up and then add something for inflation and try to come up with what I would call a budget. A budget means deciding where your dollars are going to go with the constraints of the dollars you have. In this case, it's really, in my opinion, not a budget, it's a spending plan. What has happened is the governor's designed what he wants to spend money on, and once he's got everything the way he wants it, then he's just said, okay, now I'll raise taxes over here, I'll come up with X number of new dollars, and here's how I'm going to get them. And when you look at the plan, it's quite surprising where all he's going to go to get those dollars. So there's a lot of areas. When we look at education, I will give the governor a compliment on his education budget. For E12, he's putting 3% in the formula the first year, 2% in the formula the second year. There's also some areas that he's specifically targeting and putting X number of million in each one of those areas. I get a little concerned about that because I like local control, and I'd rather see those dollars into the formula and let our local teachers, administrators, school board, superintendents, I'd like to have them have the input of how they're going to spend it. So I get a little nervous when we do that. The other concern I have is I'm not sure if this 3% in the first year and 2% in the second year on the formula, if that's just going to be on the base formula where a child in Bellevue, Minnesota, or Redwood Falls, or Dawson, or New Ulm would get the same as somebody in Minneapolis, St. Paul, or if it's on the formula that includes all of the categoricals, all the other things that go in. And if that's the case, then we're in that, we get back into the situation we've been in for so many years that the Metro gets so much more money than what the rural does for each one of our students. So I am a little concerned there. I'm also concerned about the transportation dollars, doing it with gas tax, doing it with the increasing the tabs, doing it with increasing the sales tax. Last budget, what we did is we took the money out of the sales tax for the tires, batteries, accessory, and parts for automobiles. We took about 50% of that and moved it into transportation. We took the sales tax from the rental and the lease vehicles, and that come up with a very steady stream of income for roads and bridges, and it was a continual growing plan. Under the new plan, it goes down every year because we have less and less vehicles. They get more and more efficient, and we have a lot of electrical vehicles coming online. So I think we're kind of regressed back to about a philosophy of 10 to 12 years ago, and that's unfortunate. We need to be moving forward. We need to be making sure we have adequate money for roads and bridges, adequate money for education, and I'm not sure just where this is going to go because I don't think the state of Minnesota can stand a $4 billion growth in a 2-year period at 9%. The inflation is much less than that, and it's not like things have been underfunded. Things have been funded very well since 2011-12. Starting in that year, we've been able to fund things, and I think we need to relook at where we're going to go, and it's going to make for some real interesting conversations. I will say this, I compliment the governor. I do believe that when it comes to negotiating, he'll be more than willing to sit down and have these discussions, and that's very important. So at the end of the day, we'll get things hammered out. It's just that it's going to be an interesting period here. So with that said, again, thank you very much. I hope everybody's having a good day and look forward to talking to you next week.